Thank you. Thank you everybody for joining this morning. In the spirit of reconciliation, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their ongoing connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to anyone who is of Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander background here on the call with us today. Just before we begin, I'd like to start with some housekeeping. We absolutely welcome questions today. In fact, we wholeheartedly and thoroughly encourage them. Please pop your questions into the chat at any point during the webinar. If it's an opportune time for us to address them during the course of the slides, we will do so. Otherwise, we will come back to them in the question and answer time that has been allotted at the end of the slides. If there are any curly questions that require us to do some further research or look into things, what is most important to us is to get you the right answer. If this occurs, we will take your question on notice and we will make sure that we put together a solid and a comprehensive response to that question in an FAQ document that we will put together and publish on the page dedicated to this challenge in the next 24 hours. I'll just pop a link to the FrontierSI page for the challenge into the chat box in case that is useful for anybody. In terms of further housekeeping, if you have any technical issues or other queries, please let us know using the chat function as well. And a reminder that you or any others who've registered will receive a link to today's recording, and it will be also made available on the FrontierSI Data Generalizations Challenge webpage that I've just popped into the chat as well. If you didn't have any, if you have colleagues that didn't get a chance to register for today's webinar, they'll be able to view the recording there as well. And lastly, I'd like to ask if everybody joining the call as a participant could please keep themselves on mute throughout the presentation of the slides. Once we reach question and answer time, we absolutely welcome you either to put your questions into the chat or to unmute and raise your hand, and we will ask you to voice your questions live with us. So I'd now like to introduce to you today's Data Generalization Challenge information webinar. What we are going to run through today is to go over who are FrontierSI and AGO, what the AGO Analytics Lab vision is, then we'll go through and explain this particular challenge topic, and then finally have a chance for live question and answers. An introduction to FrontierSI. So Frontier is an organisation based across Australia and New Zealand, focused on delivering the best for the geospatial industry across our region. Our focus is improved environmental and social well-being, and we have 4 key capability areas: geodesy, positioning, spatial data infrastructures, and analytics. We are a social enterprise, so we are a not-for-profit with public good objectives, and our focus is to work with our partners on partner-based projects, and any funds generated get reinvested back into the business. We also work across a range of sectors, of course, defence being a key one for us. I'll now pass over to our colleagues at AGO to speak about AGO and the Defence GeoInt 2030 strategy.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is James Carr. I'll be representing AGO this morning. So just a couple of quick notes on what AGO are and what the objectives are. So we are the Australian Geospatial Intelligence Organisation with a mission to provide GeoInt support to Australia's defence and national interests, I suppose quite broadly. Some of this support includes quite a wide range of functions, including operational planning, supporting conduct and missions of operations, situational and environmental awareness, intelligence assessments, development of strategic policy, safety of navigation in the air and maritime domains. So you can see quite a wide remit. Slide please, Roshni. So I just wanted to quickly just note some of the defence strategy as well and how this actually plays into some of the things we're trying to do with AGO Labs. So the Defence GeoEnt Strategy 2030, this document builds on the Defence Geospatial Strategy of 2010, which set out a plan for delivering an enhanced geospatial capability for defence by taking a more integrated and coordinated approach. The defence community must evolve further along this path, and solving problems will require multidisciplinary, collaborative and creative approaches, which I guess is what we're really trying to achieve here today. So if you look specifically, I guess, how that aligns to some of the AGO Labs initiatives we're looking at today, part of the goals in the strategy is to drive continuous GeoEnt innovation. So really looking to evolve capability, acquisition, science, technology, and increase the rate of adoption of automation, AI, and computer vision technologies. And as you see later in the brief, that's exactly what we're trying to achieve here today. As well as raise, train and sustain an expert GeoEnt workforce. So defence community will forecast skills for future GeoEnt professionals, investing in long-term career learning and development to keep pace with potential changes within technology, tradecraft and available data, which we're certainly seeing within the GIS community over the last few years. And then importantly, just strengthening GeoEnt partnerships, coordinated approach to developing purposeful and structured outcome-oriented partnerships with industry and academia, enhancement of existing defence industry and innovation programs. So, yeah. Yes, slide please. That's all for us on that one, Roshni.
Thanks very much. So as James outlined, AGO Labs is a collaboration between FrontierSI and the Australian Geospatial Intelligence Organisation. We have here a program that's been running for several years. What the AGO Labs program offers is $100,000 funding over 6 months and potentially an additional $50,000 over a further 3 months if the project would like to undertake limited operational testing. So that process will be considered as a stage gate at the end of the proof of concept. The proposals that we're seeking at the moment are for the proof of concept stage rather than the operational testing phase, and lead organisations must be a company from either Australia or New Zealand. In terms of what we're looking for in a proposal, the evaluation criteria which will be used to assess proposals will include consideration of how the proposal has addressed the challenge topic, the proposed methodology showing an agile approach that allows AGO to access and test outputs iteratively across the project life, as well as producing outcomes that can be operationalized beyond the proof of concept stage. Both approach and outputs will be considered, as will the proposed scope, measures of success, and the project management approach. Finally, the way that the project offers value for money will be considered. Desirable elements that we also hope you'll include in your proposal will be commitment to diversity and inclusion and any in-kind contributions from project partners. So what will you gain from us as a participant? There's the opportunity to demonstrate your capability to AGO and funding to demonstrate your technology. You'll also receive access to subject matter experts from AGO and advice and program management from FrontierSI with quick turnaround times dealing directly with us. As a successful applicant to the AGO Labs program, there is also access to marketing opportunities for your business. We've had excellent interest in the program this year, so there's the opportunity for exposure to a wide group working in Earth observation and the analytics space. And so now, the moment you've been waiting for us, we'll explore what the challenge question is. Rules to map by. Users of maps are more able to quickly and accurately interpret spatial information about new and changing environments when they're already familiar with the symbology, colours, and the level of detail from a standard product. As such, it is essential that AGO mapping products adhere to military specifications or mil-spec. AGO cartographers are required to accurately create data and maps at a defined scale to document specifications as part of their everyday activities. This involves using existing datasets and imagery products to create a number of individual layers that represent the following 7 themes: hydrography, physiography, transportation, population, industry, vegetation, and hypsography. These datasets must conform to specifications within the theme, but also between the themes. For example, a lake cannot overlap a built-up area. To add to this complexity, these rules change as the map scale changes, and features that were represented as polygons at a large scale might change to a point at a smaller scale, or even be removed entirely. AGO is interested in ways to embed the complex mil-specs into a rule-based process that develops new compliant data at 1 to 100K for original data captured and 1 to 50K based on existing Esri workflows, which my colleagues will talk about soon. AGO is looking for innovative solutions that use advanced data models to link feature geometry and attributes at different scales, create data that complies with rules within datasets and between datasets at 1 to 100K, and develop automated processes to generalize data. So the desired outputs will include commercial data models, algorithms, rule sets, tools, processes that align with the existing Esri workflows, i.e. defense mapping 1 to 50K to 1 to 250K generalization, and automated QA processes that embed mil-spec rules. I'll pass over to James and Brett to speak about this a little more.
Over the next couple of slides, we just have some graphics which we've referenced some of the Esri documentation, the Esri defense mapping extension documentation, and some of the capabilities within there. We have referenced those specific documents and slides in the documentation you'll be able to find through the link Roshni has provided in the chat. So I encourage you to have a look at those online as well, just to get some additional context. But really just wanted to give a couple of words on why we've included these today. So the first slide you see on the screen here is just really just trying to articulate and differentiate between what our focus is here. So we're really interested in that data preparation, taking that 1 to 50,000 data and transforming it into the 1 to 100,000 data. I'm not interested in, as part of this challenge, in actually the cartographic output. Our primary focus is making sure we have a fit for purpose to specification data product. Slide please, Roshni. So just quickly on this one, so just some of the tools, as part of that suite, but also just really kind of trying to highlight that part of those generalization rules within defense mapping is really what we're looking for this to be compliant with. I don't want to hamstring a solution, but really ultimately what I'm looking for is something that can play nicely with the existing workflows. Slide please, Roshni. So once again, just a couple of examples of the tools which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and just this will all become a lot more clearer as well once you see the specification, which I'll talk about a little, or the specification and related documentation a little later, and really how we're looking for all these just to be combined together into a logical path to that compliant data set. Last slide, please. And then just to go back to a point that Roshni made earlier, is just really going through and articulating those individual themes that we capture and produce to, and just kind of treating them and generalizing them appropriately to make sure they're still integrating properly with each other. For example, like an inland water body, and then what happens to if that turns from an aerial polygon to a point, making sure that we're actually considering that the features outside of that, I think, is just really kind of what I'm trying to get to at this point here. And just highlighting there is an established workflow here, and really looking to fill the void that is left with that only having access to a 50 to 250,000 generalisation, and really looking to support that 100,000 generalisation, which we are certainly heavy users of. Thanks, Roshni. I'll hand you all back to Roshni now. Thank you.
Thanks, James. So what do we need from you? We're seeking demonstrations of potential capabilities, techniques, or approaches. As James mentioned, we're looking for capability that AGO doesn't currently access. That doesn't mean it has to be completely new, but it can just be new to AGO. We will also ask for your insights into the challenges and opportunities of working with AGO, whether they be technology, projects, or relationship related, and we will ask this from you throughout the project and as part of the final report. We are keen to ensure that we capture lessons learned to improve the program in the future. Thirdly, we're seeking flexibility and openness to help AGO try new ways of approaching these challenges, as well as technology that has a potential path to operational use. A note around IP. Project intellectual property produced during the project will be owned by the participating partner in agreement with the lead partner. AGO will be granted a perpetual license to use any project IP created for defence purposes generally, other than commercialisation, including internal research, development, education, and training. In relation to the use of software, source code, and project code provided by the project partner, the license will end at the conclusion of the relevant project, and the AGO will be required to uninstall and decommission the relevant material promptly following the end of the license term. Background IP of participating partners will be retained by the participating partners, and AGO will own the project IP in the report required to be produced by the participating partner at the end of each demonstrator project. And so I guess one of the important things for us to cover with you is available data sets. Just before I pass back to James, I wanted to mention that on the FrontierSI webpage that I placed in the chat, I'll do so again for anybody who might have joined a little late. There is a form that you can complete and email back to me at FrontierSI. And then I will then be able to work with AGO to provide you access to the available data sets in the proposal development stage so that you know what you're working with. I'll now pass over to James to speak a bit more about the available data being provided by AGO.
Thanks, Roshni. Yeah, just to highlight, some of the available data sets we're looking for. So we're looking for what we're aiming to do as part of this challenge is make sure it's relevant and kind of ensure that the solution is practical and will result in, hopefully more efficient production of some of the products you see behind us here today. So the data we'll provide you once you've completed the documents Roshni provided is the Shoalwater Bay Training Area TDS 6.1 50,000 data that was captured by the team here in 2022. And then just to support that, and provide additional context, we'll be providing the QA/QC software, which we use internally. So to provide you an opportunity to kind of vet the data produced to the same level that we are, just so we're, setting everyone up for success. As well as a user guide to do that. The first couple of times it's a bit of an interesting software suite, but happy to work with people on that one. But I think the user guide should be pretty helpful. Just a note here on the license and release notes. Before we give you the data, we'll just ask you to read and agree to all the license and release terms with just a digital signature. There's a few key points there, but really the important ones is to make sure that the data is deleted and destroyed upon completion of this project. And then lastly, we'll provide you a TDS specification guide, which will really shine a light on what we're really trying to achieve, which is that generalisation, and just highlight some of the complexity between, that interoperability between those features. So I think between all of that, we're trying to keep it as simple as possible and just put it down to one area. It should give a wide range of examples of where this generalization kind of interacts with different features. So yeah, that's all the data that we'll be providing. I think that's it. Yeah, that's all for that slide, Roshni. Over back to you.
Thanks, James. So where to from here? So as you know, we are currently in the call for proposals stage. Further information and the application template can be accessed via the FrontierSI website available in the chat. Applications close at 10 a.m. AEST on Wednesday the 8th, no, sorry, on Monday the 28th of September. We will then review them. FrontierSI and AGO will then notify successful applicants. And then the project kickoffs will occur in early October. Projects will be delivered within 3 to 6 months of this, ending in about February 2024, where we'll have presentations and final reports. Sorry, I think I made an error there. The applications will close 10 a.m. on Monday, the 18th of September. My apologies. We'd now like to call for questions and answers. Please feel free to either place your questions into the chat, raise your hand, or unmute yourself and tell us your question. Over to the floor. Pablo, you've got a question.
Hi, yes, thank you. It's a question about the dates that you were showing there in the slide before. I think I saw there's a call for proposals that ended on the 28th of August. Is that something like, I guess we realized about this opportunity just a few days ago. So I'm just wondering if we missed anything at this point, or we're still on time.
We're still on time. Sorry, that was an error on my part. The call for proposals opened on Monday, the 28th of August.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes, but the closing date for applications is Monday, the 18th of September. Sorry about that. That was my bad.
All good. Thank you.
Thanks for raising that.
Following up is the data set, just for clarification, is purely vector data. There's no raster data involved in this challenge. It's all about features and vectors being upsampled and generalized, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Vector data is being provided and is the scope of this project.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Pablo. Welcoming questions from anybody. Sheath and then Jade.
It might be a bit noobish question, but like, is this challenge only looking to develop some sort of platform to like style vector tiles? Is that right?
Last bit of the question.
Is this challenge just to develop a platform that can be used to style vector tiles or like style vector files?
So that was study the vector files. Is that what that was?
So is the challenge to develop a software product that can be used to style vectors?
The challenge is to generalize those vectors, like I suppose understanding those vectors, but then outputting a separate data set at a different scale, I guess is, to put it.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it'll become a little bit clearer once you see the specification and how the vectors change across different scales. So you'll see the minus the 50,000, as Roshni pointed out before, that it might be a polygon or a point, and then you go to a different scale and it might change. So it'll be how those vectors interact between each other and with each other across different scales. So it's more a study of the conversion of vectors to a different scale.
Does that answer your question?
Did you have a follow-up question on that sheet? Okay.
Comments later as well if he's got any follow-up questions, if we need to articulate that any differently. Cool.
Great. So we'll have a question next from Jade, and then after Jade, we'll have Gavin Thomas.
Good morning, everyone. Just a quick question in regards to, I think, and you may have briefly mentioned it a bit earlier. So just confirming where we're finishing, we're not going all the way to exporting to a PDF. So we're finishing before we get into like adding map scales and titles and things like that to a page. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I suppose, there's definitely
I mean, that would be worth testing, I suppose, but yeah, just.
Yeah, for sure. And really getting a to-specification data set hopefully feeds into that automation of the map. But certainly want to segment both of those off and focusing on the vector data for sure.
Awesome, cool. That's the only question I had. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jade. Gavin.
Thank you. Just wanted to know, what is the source of the vector data that will be used for this workflow?
Produced against imagery, is that what you're asking?
Oh, I don't know where it comes from, so I'm just asking if, well, that's my assumption, but I just want to know where it did come from.
So it's data produced in-house by the team you see in here, captured against commercial half-meter imagery as the source.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gavin. Welcoming question. I was hoping somebody might have a curly question. Anybody else? Kat, over to you.
Hi, I'm not sure if you may have mentioned this, but with the vector data that was made from the raster dataset, was that made by a human, or was it made by an algorithm sort of picking out features from the raster?
It was human produced, yeah. Yeah, it was
Thank you.
Yep.
Good question, Kat. Thank you. Anybody else? Pablo, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So one more question. It is around, you mentioned there's a current ESRI workflow that the AGO is using to do this process of generalization. Is it a requirement having access to ESRI for participating in this? Like, is that ESRI a platform that is going to be used, or is needed to open or interpret these data sets?
You'd certainly be able to interact with the data set outside of ESRI platforms, but I suppose just to be clear, the end solution we're looking for needs to be compatible with the ESRI suite, essentially. But I think that's so absolutely you can open that. It'll be a geodatabase that you can open through whatever suite you're currently using, but ultimately the solution we would like to see would be ESRI compatible.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, Pablo. We have a question in the chat from Sheath. What are the outputs that you're expecting? Can we use a tool like MapUtNick to create styling rules and then export it as a PDF or view it in a lib like MapLibreGL?
Not really looking for a PDF solution. We're looking for a vector database. Sorry, did that come through at all, that response? I don't know if I was on mute or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Does that help, Sheath? Did you have any other questions on that? Right. Pablo, was that another hand or an old hand? Did you have another question?
Yeah, no, that was it. Sorry.
No worries, all good. Anything else from anybody? Anyone got any questions to really make James and Brett think really hard?
One is happy to take questions once people see the data and the specification. Yeah, I think that's when it will really probably start getting people's brains ticking over and really understanding what we're looking for. So I don't know how we'll facilitate that, but I suppose just throwing that out there that there might be some curlier questions once they see the data.
And just a reminder that the entire data set can be accessed. You can request it by completing and signing a copy of the AGO data release conditions available on the FrontierSI webpage for this challenge. So please do reach out to us for that, because I think it will definitely help you to understand the challenge and be able to put together your proposal comprehensively. Kat, question from you.
Hi. This may be covered in the mil-spec rules, but is there any sort of crossover between feature types between the different themes? So I'm talking if there's perhaps a lake in one theme and a lake in another theme, and do the rules change between those themes if there are different, if there is the same sort of feature between themes, if that made sense?
I guess the document will cover that, but they are quite rigid. Like it won't change if that's what you're asking. I guess the requirements of that feature between the scales, obviously changes, but yeah, those characteristics won't change.
Yeah, and the same feature won't be across multiple themes. So yeah, you won't have to worry about trying to competing interests, if you like. So it'll all be separate.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great question, Kat. Simon, over to you.
Thanks, Roshni. Just wanted to find out whether you've tried, trial or demo sense, or evaluated any existing off-the-shelf generalization packages that are available.
Like this team here hasn't really delved too deep in. I don't know if we've got Rob on the line if he wants to comment further on that, but I suppose ultimately no. And if that's part of your solution, happy to consider that.
Yes. There are existing tools within Esri that we're quite aware of. Like you can put in parameters around size that will change a polygon to a point with a centroid and things like that. So we're pretty okay with those. But I guess it's grouping them all together and doing it to our spec is what we're looking for. So yeah, you're right. There are plenty of tools out there. We have had a bit of a dabble, but getting it all packaged up together is sort of what we're looking for in the challenge.
Sure. Thank you.
These are really good questions. Anybody else? final call. If anyone has a question, please do raise your hand or unmute now.
I think there's one coming in the chat.
Oh, great, yes. Sun Lam asks, where can we get information about creating mil-spec compliant data?
Will be in that that source. Are you able to go to that slide, please, Roshni? Just that the available data set slide.
Yeah, so it'll be the TDS spec where you'll get most of that information.
Yeah. So what the output we're asking for is not too dissimilar to the data you're getting. It's just obviously at that different scale. So everything you need will be. It's quite an exhaustive guide. It will help you. And if it doesn't answer those questions, happy to take further questions. But I think that's the best place to start, is just really understanding how to create, what the requirements are, how they interact with other features, that kind of stuff. So I think once you read that, it should become clearer. But if it's not, happy to take questions after that fact.
That was a really good question, Sunlam, because that's quite an important part of working in this particular challenge. And it does provide a lot of guidance. It's quite a comprehensive package of information, the TDS specification. So, getting your hands on that really brings a lot of clarity. Any other questions? Going what?
Just a quick one. If we have, sorry, if I have submitted to get access to the data, I'm just wondering what the rough turnaround time is for accessing that to have a look before we submit.
Yes, so thank you, Jade. We did receive that this morning. We should be able to turn that around fairly quickly. I might just quickly pass over to James and Brett in case they have any further comments on that.
Yes, I assume that's as the file cloud request. Is that? Yeah. So we'll submit that to our team and get that turned around. We'll have the data available in there. So I'm expecting within the next couple of days you'll be able to interact with the data and pull that off the system for sure. But yeah, we'll follow up straight after this. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Quick point that Phil's just mentioned to me now is, as part of that gate, what I might do is just provide a list of excluded errors. So when you receive the data, if you were to run that day one, while it is compliant, it'll flag a lot of errors, but they're what we consider like ignorable errors. So I'll make sure to provide that list as well, just so you don't think we're providing a subpar data set, or when you run it, it's you've got 1,000 errors, but there's actually nothing wrong with the data set. So just for some clarity on that one, I'll provide that document.
Good thinking, thank you. All right, well, it sounds as though we've exhausted most of our questioning abilities for this morning. Please do feel free to send across any other questions that you might have to the email address provided in the chat, which is agolabs@frontiersi.com.au. That will come across to me, and I will liaise very closely and very quickly with both James and Brett. A reminder again on that page, frontiersi.com.au/agolabs-data-generalisation, we have a suite of documents available. So, oops. On there, we have the proposal response template, the briefing document, which provides a lot of the detailed information that you'll need about the challenge. We've also got access to the media release if you would like that. Most importantly, however, is the AGO data release conditions if you'd like to get your hands on those data. So please complete that, send it across to me at agolabs@frontiersi.com.au, and we'll get that across to you quite quickly. And then just finally, before we wrap up, I wanted to remind you of the key dates for this call. So we close applications at 10 a.m. AEST on Monday, the 18th of September. If you have any questions between now and then, we are always available. So please feel free to reach out at any time across over email. And look forward to receiving your application. A warm thank you from all of us at FrontierSI and AGO Labs. And we hope that this information webinar has been useful and enjoyable for you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks.
you.